Islam actually embodies probably the most advanced environmental ethic of the major religions. So there's a really wonderful school of thought within Islam that very much appreciates the environment and is almost diametrically opposed to the Christian idea that we must dominate the environment.
Muhammad says, even if it's the day of judgment and you have a small tree, you have to plant it. So it's how we take the time to plant it. So it's so important.
I think also in Islam, 14 centuries ago, the concept of the word preservation and conservation was mentioned and was applied, yeah.
In the mid-1800s, in all of Egypt, we're not talking Cairo, we're talking the entire nation, there were only around 4 million people. This is inconceivable to think of a country that has become so characterized by population density, was essentially empty.
We had, as a community of people, an extraordinary cultural heritage, which many of us felt was not receiving the care that it should have received. And when we looked at public space, Cairo was one of the cities which had the highest density of people and the lowest square meters of public space. So then the notion of creating a park in Cairo then took off.
Once legendary for its palm trees and greenery, by 1984 Cairo had been submerged by a rising tide of concrete and steel. When work began on the park, the green space per inhabitant of Cairo was roughly the size of a single human footprint. Even with the Aga Khan Trust providing funding, the 74 acres of land looked hopeless, buried and ravaged by 500 years of waste.
When we were invited by the Aga Khan organization to come and look at the project, they said maybe it's a bit challenging, but when we walked in, it was the biggest shock of our life. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They said, what do you think? I said, it's impossible, forget it. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So that was the first reaction. Yeah.
This is where this entire area of medieval Cairo, the people living there have been dumping their garbage for literally centuries. To the extent that this 12th century wall built during the Ayyubid dynasty, which was completely covered with garbage. So the park not only had to remove and restore the soil to this space that had been really a source of dust and flying fecal matter throughout the epochs. So it was a massive, massive endeavor, massive.
We looked around the location to see the context of the park. So as you see, there is like the Ayyubid wall and the citadel and Mamluki's architecture on the other side. So you have to analyze the whole site. Of course, we wanted to reflect the Islamic architecture that's outside, inside the park. And at the same time, you want to have two attractions to attract people to walk from this location where we are now to the other end, but without making it straight line. But at the same time, you want people to have a free area, some areas that are more free and, relaxed.
And also around the spine are gardens, formal gardens and so forth. So we use the term we are designing an Islamic garden or series of gardens within a bigger park, within a more natural setting. So that was the idea.